My dad told me when I was very young that if I really wanted to be successful in skiing, I had to be a lot more than a ski racer.
She decided at 9 years old that she wanted to join the Olympics, and ever since she's become the most decorated female skier of all time.
I grew up skiing with my family, and that's why I loved it. It originated just from the pure love of the mountain, not for racing.
What tips would you give to someone? What would you tell someone to say to themselves in those difficult moments?
You know, we have the ability to overcome a lot of adversity and obstacles. It's just a matter of how much we're willing to sacrifice to get there. We are our own biggest obstacle.
Yeah, the rivalries are definitely pushed by the media. I know you said, for example, and I remember at the time, the rivalry between you and Maria Reich was really pushed to a huge extent, maybe a bit too far. How do you think that sports journalism can become a bit more responsible? Because I know there's loads of people who speak out in all sports, football as well. I know about, negative journalism impacting mental health. How do you think that can be made a bit more responsible?
I mean, I think there's a line, obviously. I think when it comes to sports and the actual story of sports and creating those rivalries, I may have a different opinion than others. I think it's really good. I think you need those storylines to generate, people to care and pay attention. But I think there's a line when it comes to personal attacks. And, you see journalists who are asking, I know friends who play tennis and they talk about their weight and who they're dating. And those storylines don't help anyone's mental health, and they don't help sell the sport. I think that those conversations that, again, tell the story can be focused purely on sport and why we should care about the sport, not on, what their physical appearance is. And men don't get those types of questions, outside of the fact of Grigor Dimitrov or, when Nadal takes his shirt off, but generally speaking, those types of personal, potentially mentally health challenging questions are geared towards women that can be very detrimental.
Yeah, it's interesting how when a man is really strong and physically tough, it's really glorified. Whereas if it's a woman, sometimes it comes with a lot of stigma as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Serena is a great example of that. She's been made out to be, this kind of, I don't know, beast or, something along those lines. And she can still be incredibly feminine, but, a lot of times when, she's yelling at the umpire or there's, heated words being said, she gets incredibly criticized. Whereas, McEnroe was the number one, shit talker in the world, and he's absolutely glorified for it. So I think there's a middle ground where, we can let out our emotions while still being appropriate, because I am always conscious of what image I'm portraying for the next generation. I've always known that, I need to set a good example for kids. So I always find that there can be a middle ground where you can be aggressive and, put your heart on your sleeve and be impactful without, crossing that line. But women definitely aren't, in society, we don't feel that they should be in that role. But I really think you can be both. I really think you can be a competitor, a true competitor, and also incredibly feminine.
Yeah, I agree. I think part of the issue is that the gender stereotypes around femininity require kind of weakness, or at least historically, and I think that's where it stems from. But to come back to, you mentioned branding and narrative. I was wondering why you think your branding was so successful. Do you think it was kind of the ability for you to fight through injuries, or just your sheer talent? What do you think really made you such a successful brand?
Well, I mean, my dad, told me when I was very young, I think I was 11 or 12, that if I really wanted to be successful in skiing, I had to be a lot more than a ski racer. So I kind of have always taken the business side to heart, and I've always worked exceptionally hard off the mountain, just like I do on. And I've been always authentic to myself and my story. I've been maybe sometimes too opinionated, but I'm never afraid to speak my mind. And I think sometimes in sports, especially to our point of, women have to fit into a certain role. I think a lot of women do put themselves in that role and put themselves in the box and don't allow themselves to be, who they really are. And so, I'm thankful that I've had the courage to just be myself. And I think that's led me, on the journey, obviously, of overcoming the adversity of my injuries. And I think why people resonate with that story, because, I was very vulnerable. I shared kind of all sides of those recoveries. And I think in my documentary, you can really see who I am as a person. And it really, like most famous or, successful sports stories are really not about sports. If you look at Rocky, it's not about boxing. So, I think people recognize me as a person, and that, they feel that if I can overcome my adversity, they can too. So it really, I think, comes down to that, and not necessarily branding. It's just me as a person and how I've been able to translate that to a relatable story that in turn also allows my sponsors to capitalize on that as well.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode. I just wanted to drop you in a word from our sponsor Manscaped. You can use the discount code LOAF to get your discount, because even a lion needs to tame its mane.
Get the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra from Manscaped now. Stay fresh with no cuts, so that your baguette leaves no crumbs.